Hello again, I'm Anderson. This is my personal channel where I analyze stocks that I own or I like, mostly Brazilian and Latin American hot stocks. I analyze hot companies from a very hot place because I live in Rio de Janeiro. Today we will analyze Simpar, a, a leverage hidden gem or a value trap. Let's try to know. Simpar is a holding company that controls JSL, the biggest transport company in Brazil, Automob, the biggest car retail in Brazil, Movida, the second biggest rent car in Brazil, and other smaller companies like CS Brazil and CS Infra, both infrastructure companies, BBC Bank that finance operation in other companies that belong to the holding. Vamos, that is a company that rent trucks. Simpar was founded as incorporated as Simpar on 2020, but in fact is founded on more than 50 years ago, being primarily JSL. Well, the company has a very interesting growth since 2020. The growth is a little bit lower now, only 6% growth on revenue. But anyway, the company has a good track record. But the main problem is debt. So let's analyze with your rules. What about the company? Do you understand? Do I understand how the company makes money? Well, yes, Simpar itself do not make money because it's a holding, but we understand that JSL and Vamos JSL do money by offer transport services to big business in Brazil like retail, supermarkets, and other big companies. Vamos generate value by renting trucks. So the customer here is a little bit smaller than the in JSL. Movida is a retail rent car, and Automob is a retail seller car. So we understand how Simpar makes money by understanding how the subsidiaries makes money. Um, will people be using this product in 20 years? Surely, there is no doubt. Infrastructure is a thing that people will use in 20 or maybe 50 years. Brazil needs a lot of better infrastructure in most of the segments Simpar works. The market is very atomized. For example, even being the biggest transport company in Brazil, JSL has something like 5% of the market. So they have a strong avenue, a strong growth avenue in the next 10 or 20 years. Does the company have a durable competitive advantage? Not exactly. The competitive advantage, the moat here, is the strong assets they build. But it's something that with money, another company could build too. So there is no something has like a proprietary technology or a proprietary method, patents. They could argue, yeah, but we have the trust of our customers. It's true, but it's not so strong. So we could point here like the company, a softly yes, they have a competitive advantage, but not so strong. Is the company recession proof? Strongly no. Um, Maybe one of the weakest point with the debt is the recession proof. All the activities of the company are linked to GDP growth. So in a recession, we could expect less transport from JSL, less car rented for Movida, a little bit less truck rents for Vamos, not so lower number because the contracts are more durable, as they have more larger expiration. So if recession is short, they will be not affected. Anyway, it's a company that is not recession proof. Is there confidence in the management? Yes, we can see here that the company is holded uh, mostly, well, GSP Holding is the family. Fernando Antonio Simões is the chairman with 6%. We have a 33% float. Recently, I think in March 2026, the company received a capital from BNDES, that is Brazilian Development Bank, and uh, now the structure will hold the bank with a voting board and some veto in strategic issues. So we have an improvement on governance too. Has the company been listed on the stock exchange more than 5 years? Yes. 2020 for Simpar, but to be fair, if we consider JSL, much more time. Well, let's see financial roles. Has the company shown revenue growth over the last 5 years? Yes, strong revenue growth with a CAGR that I think that it's better than 20%. So we have 2020, 13 billion reais from 2020, the last 12 months, at 40 billion reais. The company multiplied more than by three the revenue. Very good numbers. Has the company shown earnings growth over the last 5 years? Well, here the answer is more nuanced. The company showed a very good EBIT performing, growing from 3 billion reais to 8 billion reais, but the company pay a lot of financial services, especially because all this growth from 2021 comes with debt. As the company is not asset light, they are asset heavy. In fact, they need to buy the cars and trucks to rent them. So the debt is now very, very high. We can see here net debt like 45 billion reais. If we compare with EBIT, we have 5 times debt, comparing 5 times ratio, very high, 5.5 now. So, so earnings grew, but net profit doesn't grow so much and is very unreliable and unstable, exactly because company pays a lot on financial services. Is the price earnings ratio low? Well, in fact, it's not possible to see price earnings on this stock. And several quarters, the company perform loss, so the price earning will be negative. And some quarters, the company perform a so tiny profit that price earning will be three-digit multiple. That's not fair. So it's not a variable that we could use. Does the company have consistent dividend growth? No. Dividend in this company is very tiny, like 1 to 3%, and very unstable too. Has the company paid more than 5% dividends year over the last 5 years? No, definitely is not a dividend case company. Has the company been profitable for the last 5 years? Operation in the we could divide this answer on two. On operation, the company is strongly profitable in all years and never reported a loss. But on bottom line, when we see net profit, it's another history because the company pay a lot of financial interest. So we could analyze, especially this company, and is not a kind of a type of company that I like. But in this case, I could be wrong, but I think that exists a lot of hidden value when interest rate in Brazil decrease. So we could analyze this company as a financial leverage case. If the company can solve this financial part, the operational numbers are very good. We can't expect in the next 3, 5, maybe 5+ years dividend or something like this. So has the company paid plus 5% plus dividends year over the last 5 years? No. Has the company been profitable? Well, we can analyze it in we should answer this question with two, two different categories. Has the company never reported a loss on fiscal year? Again, we could divide in operational and bottom line. Does the company have a role above 10% return on equity? No. The return on equity is something like 3% to 3%, but again, by the financial. Is the company debt high? Very high. Is something that I really dislike, but maybe this way is an opportunity. So let's see. Debt divided by equity, 14 is the ratio. Debt by EBIT, 50, 5.5. Net debt by EBIT, 3.5. An important thing, as the company was growing, um, when the company was growing 15, 20, 25% yearly, the rationale was that the debt will remain the same, but the EBIT will grow, so this ratio will decrease. Now we are seeing that the growth on revenue and on profit is a little bit softer. So we could be a little bit more skeptical on decrease on debt ratio only by growth. Fortunately, we are seeing the company very focused on reduce debt levels. They they sold, for example, a subsidiary on waste, and it was very interesting how this unlocked value because the entire company was valued in something like 5 billion reais on that moment, and they sold a subsidiary that is not listed by 2 billion reais. So it's a clear signal uh, that the assets are very undervalued, underpriced because the debt. So that's the opportunity here. Let's continue. Does the company have debt lower than equity? No, by far. Very high than equity. Thesis and projections. What the main investment thesis? Well, we see that operationally the companies are good, are not bad. The debt is very high, true, but We could analyze too that in this case, the company could sell in not difficult way several assets and pay debt if they want. It's different, for example, for a company that owns refinery, because refinery is a asset that's not possible to divide. If they need to sell refinery, they need to find someone that want to buy a 10 billion, 5 billion reais asset. Simpar could can sell, for example, 10,000 cars on Movida by 100,000 reais each one. So it's much more easy. In fact, this is an argument that the board already expressed, the chairman used to express that if they want, they put a discount of 20%, for example, and they could sell how as many cars as they want. The same with trucks, a little less liquidity, of course, but it's not so difficult to sell trucks. So even the debt, it's not so bad because the counterpart, it's very liquid assets. Anyway, the idea here is that as operational is good, these companies perform a lot of merger and acquisitions in the last 5 years. Is one of the reasons why is one of the reasons why the debt is so high. And now it's the moment to unlock value. It's by micro. By macro scenario, if interest rate in Brazil decrease 1 or 2 points, which is very probable in the next months or 1 year, maybe 2 year window, but it's not fair to imagine that the levels will stay higher for longer than this. Uh, Nowadays, the prime interest rate is very high, so the company could improve results uh, in a very quick pace and very strong. Let's see, for example, the last data for Simpar, how much they paid. Okay, here we have. So financial result, they pay in 2025 8 billion reais. So they paid almost 20% of all the revenue on financial results from 6 billion reais 2024. So we have 2 billion reais more here. And the net profit was only 200 million reais. But if we imagine that they could decrease this payment, the financial result, from 8 to 2 billion reais, we could have 6 billion reais net profit here, which could perform a margin from 15%. So, and if we have 6 billion reais and we apply a price earnings ratio from 10, for example, we could have a 60 billion company instead a 6 billion company. So this company maybe this stock maybe is opportunity of a 10 bagger or could be a value trap because if we analyze more older years, I think that I have here, the company paid much lower on 2020, for example. Oh, unfortunately, we don't have here financial results from previous years. But the fact, to be fair, is that this number instead decrease, they increase in the recent years. So until now, it's not clear that the company will manage to decrease what they pay on interest. But the signals are very positive. We have some strategic assets that were sold. Ciclus Ambiental, the waste company from Rio de Janeiro City, by 2 billion reais. We also have the arrival of BNDES, the Brazilian Development Bank, with a strong endorsement. We have here a risk of be dilute in follow-on, for example, it's possible. But my main scenario, mm, what I think that will occur is that the company will be able to continue growth more softly, not so quickly, but anyway, grow and will decrease the negative numbers on financial results. This will unlock a lot of net profit, and with this, a upgrade on the stock price. Well, let's only see very quickly the main subsidiaries results. So we have JSL that came from 9 to 9.6 billion reais, 6% growth, good growth. And we have a net profit, well, very tiny net profit, but by the same. Here they paid not the holding, it's the operational company, 1.1 billion reais on interest. Let's see Movida from growing 90%, very good. Net profit very tiny. Well, it's not a company that will pay dividends. It's not a dividend case. Maybe it's not a company to hold forever, but probably is an opportunity to the next 2 or 3 years. It's not a wonderful business in a fair place. I think most like a good opportunity to find a Tenbagger that possibly will perform very well, but that we could not be exposed to more than 5% probably. I own this company since 2024. In fact, I sold my position on 2025, and after I bought again a lower position on late on December, November 2025, and now I am hoping that the market think like me because until today the stock is only performing negatively. In fact, to finish, if we invest 5 years ago, who invested 5 years ago 1,000 now l- lost 74%. Uh, this is a risk, but it's also opportunity. I will stay with the opportunity side. I hope you like it. It's not finance advice. Until next Sunday. Thank you.